And hello, everyone. Welcome to another late night podcast. This time it is 11:57 p.m., August 22nd, 2016. And if you haven't noticed, I've been taking a little bit of a break on the podcast for the weekend because, shit's been going on. You know how it goes. So I like to give you guys a little bit of a break to hear my obnoxious voice. Let me tell you about a little bit today before we get to today's topic. Or tonight's topic. Hope you guys are asleep and dreaming of my beautiful voice. But besides the point, I got a really bad sunburn on me right now, and I look like a fucking lobster. And my good roommate of mine, he's gonna make him smile when he hears that one, has an aloe vera plant in the backyard, and decided to do some old school remedy treatment by using an aloe vera plant. And by the way, it was the smelliest aloe vera plant ever. It's literally smelled like chicken soup. So if you have an aloe vera plant, be careful when you're spraying that stuff on it because it looks gross and it definitely smells gross and it'll probably make you feel gross. So there's a food for thought for today. And how did I get such a bad sunburn? Well, I did put sunblock on, but when I was at the beach with my friend of mine that I haven't seen in a long time, so it was good to catch up with her on what's going on in my life and her life. But besides the point, you put on sunblock, you don't let it soak in, you go in the water and it washes off and you stay in the water for a while. And that shit just makes you burn to a crisp. And you can tell, well, there's no picture, but if you saw me, it's pretty bad. And I missed a few spots because, I don't know, I was using like the spray sunblock. I don't know. That's all I had. Anyway, so let's get on with today's topic. I decided to give you guys a little thing about my day for today and blah, blah, blah. So enough about me. Today's topic is my thoughts on Technomancer. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I just beat Technomancer today, and it took me about 2.5 months because it's been off and on, and a lot of shit's been going on in my life to where I haven't been able to focus on. But I mean, I've had a week now to where I could be able to focus on and beating it and stuff. But time and place for everything, and I take my time. And my good friend of mine gave me good advice and just focus on one game to beat and not focus on other games, because nowadays it's crazy how many games that you're playing because they just fucking throw free games at you or cheap games at you all the time. And you're fucking broke the next minute. But besides that, Technomancer, I beat that game today, and you know what? I'm pretty happy that I beat it. Now, why am I happy that I beat it? Well, the fact that I finally fucking beat it, like I said, after 2.5 months. And the reason, well, it's to be honest, I haven't been able to beat that many games lately. Just because, like I said, there's just been so many, and I've been foolish enough to fall for the clickbait, as you can say, to purchase these games or just play other games because it's sad. But nowadays, games are just not as appealing as they used to be, to where I would just be like glued to the screen and just nonstop play the same game until I beat it. It's not the same anymore. Or I'm just getting older. I mean, who knows? My priorities are shifting a little bit, but at the same time, it could be a number of reasons. But if you guys, you know what I'm talking about. We can all relate to that fucking shit going on in the video game industry. But yeah, I'll give you a little description on Technomancer. So it's a game. It's a game. Fuck yes. It's a sci-fi role-playing game made by the company Spider and published by Focus Entertainment. And if you've never heard of Spider, it's okay. They're kind of I don't want to be a dick about it, but they're kind of a low budget gaming industry or video game company. And a previous game they made was called Bound by Flame, which I thought was a pretty cool looking game, except it got like really bad reviews, and it was probably just they haven't mastered their craft yet. So Technomancer, a lot of people felt like that, even though supposedly it was low budget game, but I read the reviews about it on Steam. People were saying that it's a lot better than Bound by Flame, despite it being the Technomancer showing a lack of polish and a few bumps, scrapes, and bruises here and there. But they said it's a good game, but it's not a great game or something like it. So it's like, I don't know. Think of it as like a really good B movie. I guess that's one way to put it. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that and how that reflected on me playing, and if I thought like how other people thought, because there were some people that were really fucking mean about the game. Like, it was bad. It was really bad. But I mean, we all have our opinions, right? To each his own. So what the fuck ever. Um, so Technomancer, I guess you could say, yeah, it's a sci-fi role-playing game that takes place on Mars, and it's in the future, and you're in no contact with Earth, and basically the whole time you're playing the game, you're trying to come in contact with Earth. Um, there's going to be spoilers, so I'll in the title episode I'll put in parentheses spoilers, so you guys know what you're getting into if you really care about playing the game. Because I definitely think you should try it, but just take my word on what I have to say about the pros and cons. So, okay, so let's go like I said, a little plot line, a little summary of the game. So like I said, it takes place on Mars, and some crazy shit's been going on through corrupt government and hazardous things happening on Mars. And what I mean by hazardous is that skin mutations caused by the sun exposure on Mars, which makes these people turn into like these grotesque figures, which they call mutants in the game, which makes sense because they do look like mutants. So they kind of like it kind of had like some segregation with mutants in the game. So you're dealing with segregation in the storyline. And another thing what's going on is that the reason why this segregation happened and this transformation of mutants is that this corporate government corrupt military organization called the ASC is the cause for that. And they're just they're just a bunch of fucking shitheads, your typical things you see in video games where they have really douchey military or government organizations, and that's what they are. They're corrupt. They're they're all into doing it for the power, not for like sincerity towards their people. Like they do what they fucking want to do. But they weren't that bad in the beginning. I mean, they were bad, but they weren't like cold, ruthless sons of bitches. Not yet, at least. So eventually, the game has it tells you what it's about in the intro, kind of gives you an idea. So eventually it comes to talk of technomancers, which are these kind of I want to say religious figures in a way, but there's these guys that master electricity, which is pretty fucking cool because it kind of brings you back to the Old Republic days or Star Wars with like Force lightning and able to tap into your inner abilities. But except being a technomancer takes a lot more than being Force sensitive. But so anyway, yeah, it talks about that too, about what they're all about, and it gets to character customization. So is your character, and your guy's name is wow. Zachariah Mancer. Jesus fucking Christ, how do I not remember his name and I just beat it? Yeah, his name's Zachariah Mancer, and he's on his steps to become a full-fledged technomancer. So when you start the game, you're not a full-fledged person, and basically you go through the trials and errors to become one. And the story it takes it from there, because when you become a full-fledged technomancer, every technomancer has this like rite of passage, right? And you go to this place called this old dome, which was it's like these abandoned places of knowledge and technology that the technomancers left behind. So it's it's a hand-me-down place. And you go there, and once you finish your trial, you learn about the technomancers, what they're really about, and you learn about the first settlers on Mars, which were one of the first people were the first technomancers, because they figured out scientifically how to tap into your I want to say neural network to bring out electricity out of your body, basically. So that's like the in layman's terms. So sorry about that. But anyway, yeah, and you find out that you're trying to communicate with Earth. So I thought that was pretty cool, because no one knows why Earth was cut off or why Earth hasn't contacted them, and it was a pretty great twist. I didn't expect it in the end of the game. But like I said, we'll get to that later when we talk about storytelling in the game. So let's go with if you guys want a better description of this game, you're going to have to do some little research. I'm just trying to get through the pros and cons and what I thought about it. So you have a basic idea of what type of game it is. And before starting my pros and cons, just know that it is also a game that's based on choices you make in the game that reflect you on how the game ends and how it plays through. So kind of like your Mass Effect, Knights of the Republic, BioWare type setting, which is great, which I thought was cool, and I really liked it. That's probably why the main reason I bought the fucking game. for $40. Buy it on PC. Don't buy it on consoles. Spend cheaper money on it. I mean, I don't know how much it is in store. I mean, it could be 60 or 40, but I don't know. I haven't looked because I bought it on PC on day one, so I didn't really fucking care to look. So let's go with the pros. What are the good things about Technomancer? Well, I want to say that the characterization is very fucking great. And I to fully emphasize on that, well, every character is memorable. Every character has their flaws, their weaknesses, their like their struggles, their strengths. Basically everything that makes, characters great, because it goes like when you have great characterization, when it goes deep into their psyche and you actually start feeling for the person, you want to treat them the best, or you want to give them your honest answer, no bullshit, you want to be completely honest with them. Or if the game forces you to be dishonest with them just for a white lie or something, like that's also good too. That means characterization pushed you far enough to think like that. So I mean, along your travels, you hear what everybody thinks about their opinions, and everybody has a lot of different opinions in your group of party members you get, and you get all kinds of party members. You even get a mutant in your group, which is pretty interesting to hear because he's the segregated one, and his storyline is pretty fucking crazy, like, and pretty cool, and was a twist. The game had a lot of twists, which really surprised me. I liked it a lot. So, pro characterization. Characters are great. Even your main character is fucking great. And the stuff that your characters say are so funny, depending on who you're talking to. Like, they'll say some pretty raunchy or vulgar things, and I love it. The game doesn't hold back on that shit, which is cool. I mean, why would they? They have a douchebag government taking over the world, trying to take over everything and making everyone unhappy, which is eventually led by a huge douchebag who takes over the military and fucks your main character over and makes you the bad guy, and you're basically a runaway. So that's also part of the story. So you can imagine the possibilities of that, which is really cool because being on the running games is pretty awesome. So you think. That's a con we'll talk about. Another pro was the level design, like the world design. Oh my god, Mars looked beautiful in that game, despite it being a barren red fucked planet with no water or anything. But it looked awesome how it was designed, from the military town Ophir, where you start out in, to the slums of Ophir, and then the underworks, which is like a cave. Like, think of it as the I want to say kind of like the bottom level of Nitro Republic on Terrace. Oh my god, I can't remember. The Underworld or something. But this is called Underworks. And it's kind of similar to that. It's just fucking... I mean, there's not that many people like living in the Underworks compared to the Underworld. But it's pretty... just huge cave formations. And there's like mutants or aliens down there. And some corrupt shit going on. So, what happens down there stays in there. But, I digress. There's the towns are just fantastic. You really feel like you're in this like sci-fi world. Everything's pretty like amazing looking on the scale. And games nowadays are able to do that massive scale that they do on concept art. Like, because back in the day you would see that people, they do concept art and you would see like just like huge, it's like this tiny person going against this giant world. And we never really used to see that back in the day. And if we did, it would just be like photorealistic looking. It's not like we're really there. But in this game, you do feel like you're there, and it's awesome. And you get to see different societies and organizations working in their own way, in their own place on Mars. So it's like you have a pretty realistic idea on how things could go on Mars if it ever came to like how it goes with electricity users and corrupt government and mutants. But yeah, the level design is just great. I remember a lot about it. Which could be a bad thing, and that's also part of another con. Let's see, another pro, I would say the story. The story is very complex, very great, and it's I already gave kind of like a rundown of the story, so everything that I said is just like it's emphasize and magnify like tenfold, and it goes really deep into the story. And like I said, you get that immersion. You get a sense of like how fucked up things are on Mars and how pretty terrible things how are things going or how they're going. Sorry. But yeah, so 3 pros are story, level design, and characterization. And I guess you could say with characterization or world design or whatever you want to call it, level design, I guess this could go with it. Is like talking about like how the aesthetics look in the game and how your like character looks with like the types of armor and weapons you can get. Oh, it's very fucking cool. It's not your typical like sci-fi game. I mean, they like use hammers and like little saw blades on like a lot of blunt weapons in the game, and they use guns too, and they use daggers, axes, but I wouldn't say like medieval looking axes, but like woodcutter axes type deal, or maces. So it kind of has like a medieval aspect to it. Yeah, maybe like a primitive style or primitive approach to the game, but at the same time, it just fucking works. It just clicks with the game really well, and I like that a lot. So I guess I can go with like the way the world design is. I guess I mean that could be included in its own thing, maybe like Arsenal, but it's a good thing. So whatever, another pro, I don't care. So those are the things that I like about the game. Sadly, there are a lot of cons, and okay. God, where do I even start? Okay, let's just start with the most noticeable one. And people bitched about this on the comments of Steam and just reviews everywhere. IGN especially. Oh my God, IGN just fucking ripped that game apart. They gave that game such a bad review. It only had like a 2-minute video, and I mean the guy who reviewed it was a bit of a douchebag. Like no lie, he was fucking annoying and just like way too critical on the game. Like he was kind of, yeah. Anyway, oh man, I want to fuck that guy up. But yeah, he is right, because one of the main things he complained about was combat. Okay, now combat should be something that should take its time with, right? You want to perfect the gameplay. So I can say gameplay. Let's go with that. That's a better term for it instead of combat. In terms of, well, no, gameplay can be considered like its own thing, because combat is very particular. It's very specific. Gameplay is kind of like an overall view on how the game played out. So just I don't want to go too much into that the good thing, but the gameplay was great. Like I said, moral choices and all that. That was great. So we'll just end it on that. So combat con, I didn't like it because it was too simplistic in a way to where it was like hack and slash games. I felt like that game was just like that. And don't get me wrong, you have your Technomancer powers, and you have these certain things you can do to where you can plant mines. I mean, I guess if you choose different classes, you have different ways of attacking. But the fact that the combat was very like straightforward, and maybe too straightforward, because this is kind of linked, correlated with another con, which is the AI in the game. So I'm basically hitting fucking ragdolls in the game half the time. But the reason why that is because they made the AI so fucking bland and boring. They're not smart. They don't feel like they're doing much of anything besides just taking all your hits. You're basically hitting a fucking like a doll or something repeatedly, and they eventually die. And then you're like, well, okay, I guess I feel confident about that. And I was playing on like normal mode. Okay, so I mean, there were times like in the beginning of the game, I was getting my fucking ass kicked because the game was very, very fucking harsh, and they did an update to change the difficulty on it. Thank God, to make it like not as fucking crazy, because I felt like I was on fucking hard mode, no lie, or I just sucked. You know what answer I'm going with. But anyway, so the combat and the AI, it was just like they went so well together on how bad those things were, but it just didn't feel like I was immersed or feeling like I like victorious. And that was with only the humanoid things you were fighting, like the aliens and stuff. the creatures that you come across, like the monsters, I felt a little more victorious over them because they were a little better with their attack patterns and they were a little more unpredictable compared to the humans. Because I know a lot of times I didn't see the attacks coming, but the AI was still pretty flat. I mean, I can understand enemies having repetitive patterns, but it was just like, just the way it was executed was just not good at all. So the combat, I mean, it doesn't even like I said, you have your powers, but it's just, you don't have to use your powers. That's the fucking sad thing. I mean, I use my bombs more, my like mines and stuff more than my powers, because the powers that you got in the game didn't really focus on multiple enemies. They focus on like one enemy at a time, and until you max out your, by the way, skill tree that's in the game. You don't get a power that hits everybody else until the very end of the game, basically, or if you just completely focus on it, if you don't care about any other, talent trees in the game or whatever skills. So, yep, that was a pro and con for me, and everybody could vouch for me on that. Now, I wouldn't say the combat was horrible. It just needed more oomph to it, and then AI definitely needed some fucking life to it. It's sad because the AI, when you're talking to the citizens and the people inhabiting the area you're in or the planet, you get a sense of, like, an idea of what they're going through because you hear the dialogue from them and stuff. So their AI was good on that part, their NPC part. But when they were fighting, or when you fight against enemies and stuff, oh man, it was a fucking joke, which was sad. That was the shortcoming. So for two cons, we got combat and AI. Another con is your customization options. Now, people complain about this also in the beginning of the game where you customize your guy. You have choices to change hair color, facial features, but it's very, very minimalist. It's kind of like Knights of the Republic or Jedi Academy. It's very straightforward and very basic, which I had no problem with because it just didn't bother me. Like, I don't need to spend 3 fucking hours changing the chin convex of it, or whatever you want to call it, the bulge of it, the how much it points through a guy's asshole. Like, you don't need that. It's like, it's not completely necessary to do that. Like I said, I as a gamer, I never fucking spent the time to do that shit. Like, I didn't care about spending 4 hours on cheekbone size and cheek gaunt and forehead. I only worried about the main things, like eyebrows, eyes, mouth, the easy fucking stuff. And I would always go with presets because the presets were pretty good, and I just do a bit of a makeover, and that was fine. So that customization I was fine with, but the customization of your character's skills and talents and perks and all that, some of it was decent, some of it was not. I mean, you have your 4 base stats, which is strength, agility, power, and constitution. Those are your ways to increase your stats for your character. And I didn't mind that too much. I honestly didn't, because it did take me a while to, fill out 2 stats from that. I went with, when I was playing my character, I went with strength, power, and constitution. And I filled out 2 of them. I filled out constitution and strength. And power was pretty close, but I never did agility because I didn't care about that, because I wasn't using things that required agility. That wasn't my class. Speaking of the devil, classes. So there's 3 different types of classes. I can't remember exactly what they're fucking called, but there's a class that uses a mace, a blunt weapon and a shield, and there's another class that uses a gun and a knife, which is pretty cool, right? It's like the stealthier class. And there's another class that uses pole arms or staffs, I guess, like a fucking Ninja Turtle Donatello. And they all have their base moves, different moves that they do. Like, only the shield guy can block. The staff guy can flip around like a fucking Jedi or a monk. And then the knife and gun guy, well, he can fucking shoot. Okay, and then shank you in the fucking ball sack once or twice. So that was pretty cool. I like the classes in the game, but the other 2 things were like the skill tree, and there was I want to say your profession tree, if that's right. Your what is it? Specifications, I guess. Like, what I mean is like crafting, science, charisma, stuff like that. I kind of felt like they needed more of a backbone. They were very bare. I mean, like I said, a lot of the things in the game were straightforward, and if you don't mind the minimalist approach, because like I said, the game was low on budget, so they had to, do what they could to keep it as nice as possible, nice looking. And I didn't mind the whatever the job tree or specification. I just wish there was kind of more of a in-depth version of it, more of like if you went into science, like I would want it to be more branched out, like different types of science stuff you could do. But no, it was just like one thing and you just made it better. And it's the same thing with crafting and stuff. You just upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. It doesn't branch out into like a little skill tree or something, to where it kind of like gives you more different things you can do, or it didn't have that. So, and that was the same thing with oh God, what is it? The stats? No. Oh, the your powers, your fucking yeah, your power chart. Sorry about that. Yeah, the powers were the same way, but in the beginning they were very bare. And you had four different ways you could play the game, but three out of the four things were based on your class. So I was sword and shield guy basically, and I went with that approach for the skill or the power tree, whatever you want to call it, talent tree. And the other one was using your Technomancer powers, which is cool because you want to use your Technomancer powers. You like electricity, and it did a what I wanted for the your specification and job tree. What I wanted, which for it to like branch out into multiple things that you could expand your power or your whatever character on. But the problem is that it was kind of bare minimum too, because you don't get that many powers in the game compared to being a Jedi, because a Jedi has just so many different powers. And I understand that they had to be realistic about it, because a Technomancer is not going to be a fucking Jedi completely, right? It's not going to have force speed or something, or just float on air. But it would have been fucking cool. I think it would have made sense to have way more powers that you can do, because there wasn't that many, which was kind of sad. And there was no like, well, at least not yet. There was no like, what was it? Branched out version. There you go. Branched out version of a skill. It was just like, here's the power. That's it. There's no like different versions of that power. Not yet, like I said. And that was just it. The same thing happens with your class when you're picking your like skills for your class or whatever. It was the same thing. Very bare minimum, or very minimalist. But I swear this was new, but they had an update to where they had it to where it did branch down into like different types of enhancements you get for using that skill, which are more or less like passive abilities or something that you just don't see or ever perform. Which kind of sucks, because I wish they had like some Technomancer abilities, like if you use like a regular lightning bolt, it should have like instead of one hand you use two hands and more electricity comes out, stuff like that, where it upgrades it, so it kind of gives you like a variation of your power, like a different like a different soul to it, I guess, or an enhancement, like you would see the difference. And I wish it had that a little better on that. So there's a pretty minute detail on another con, which was the customization. But it like I said, it wasn't bad. It's not bad. It's just not good either. It's just C+. This game is an average game. It's a C+ game. I could just sum it up right there. And one last con, if I haven't forgot anything, but the con that sticks out to me most is that, okay, I said in a pro the level design was great, and it could also be its downfall. Well, the reason why I say that is because the game has a lot of backtracking, like a lot. Do you guys remember that game for the original Xbox, Breakdown? And if you do, I commend you, because that game is pretty fucking cool. It has a cool concept, and the last like 25% of the game was this complete fucking backtracking, and it was ridiculous on how bad it was. So Technomancer was kind of the same way. So even though you go to different big areas and stuff, like different towns, the game always had a fucking like conniving way to go back to to your first town. And sometimes it's not bad to do that, but it's like every fucking time. So it's really hard to fucking get your mind to like think forward and not think about what happened before. Because like in the first town, when you're exiled, basically, you don't think you're able to fucking go back, but somehow the game managed to do that, which I credit them for being as clever as possible. With the low budget they had, but at the same time they did it so much, and it's not like they did it like in bits and pieces, and then sometimes they do it in a grand finale fashion instead of just knocking it all down at once, and then occasionally you would come back, not every fucking time, because there was a lot of quests that take place in the same town that you leave and you go to a next town and then you have to come back, and I can't fucking stand that in games, and that literally the last half of the game fucking did that a lot, and that was like unavoidable, and it sucked. Like, I really hated that. But the missions you were doing were at least interesting enough. Like I said, story and characterization helped a lot, so it got me through it. Like, I had to hold my fucking breath though. So a lot of the quests were pretty unique, which like I said, they had to be clever with low budget. It's understandable, and but it definitely put a dent in the game's like polishing and longevity of it and lasting appeal. Like, the lasting appeal. Here's another con. The lasting appeal wasn't that great because of how many times you backtracked. And I don't see myself playing the game over again, even though you could, with all the different options and choices you can make, and how you act within the game. But I just, at least not right now, I just have no desire to play it, fuck that shit. I beat the game today, I'm happy that I beat it, the ending was pretty satisfying. And like, you find out what happens with Earth, and I'm not gonna fucking spoil that. I'm sorry guys, I won't spoil it. You can just look it up online if you really want to know, but I'm not doing that shit to you. Yeah, the ending was good. Like, I like the ending, and I feel like they should make a sequel to, they should pull it Witcher 2, because in Witcher 1 the combat was just awful in Witcher, but the story was good, and the gameplay was just the only thing that was just downfall. The story, characterization was good, just like basically everything that happens in Technomancer, and what I liked and disliked about it was the same thing, besides backtracking. Because like I said, you backtrack in a lot of games and they do it so well that you don't even care about that, but it's just like how long it takes for you to backtrack in Technomancer, and what you have to do is just like tedious fucking work. It's like a fucking chore. You don't want that. You definitely don't want that in your game design. So I hope they make a second one, and I hope they expand on that and make, I'm sure they got a bunch of money, because this was a pretty hyped game, because from the trailers it looked pretty fucking awesome. And like I said, it's a pretty fucking cool sci-fi game. It's got a great sci-fi story, and I can see this being written as a book or something, which would be fucking cool. And they should write it into a book or a comic book series, something like that. I mean, they can even fucking make a TV show on it if they wanted. I mean, it's space game. The possibilities are endless. So, that's my my thoughts on the game. So, I gave some pretty shitty pros and cons on it, because you can only go so far in descriptions. I'm not a fucking editor here or a reviewer person on IGN. I just given you my fucking bare thoughts on it. So I hope this doesn't stray you away from wanting to play the game, but it's just like an honest opinion here and what I felt about the game, and I know there's so many other pros and cons that I could talk about, but I'm trying to save you some time. Like, I just give you like the most important things that stuck out to me. So if you want to look up any other reviews, go on Steam, go on IGN, go on this, and any type of site that has some type of reviewing thing on it, or just take it from me. So I hope you guys get it on PC, because it looks fucking great. Oh yeah, here's a pro. The graphics are really fucking cool. They're really cool, man. They look fantastic. They really do. Like, people were fucking. Can you believe people were bitching about it looking like a 10-year-old game? People are on fucking crack. And these are people talking about the PC version. I'm like, do you even PC, bro? Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed this little simple opinionated podcast on Technomancer. And the time is 12:32, 8/23/2016. Wow, we skipped through time. Anyway, see you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe, leave your thoughts below, and I hope you find a way to finger my asshole. I'm just kidding, guys. We're all friends here. But if you know a guy, no, I'm just playing. Anyway, see you guys later.